Well, for more perspective on the state of global food security and hunger, I'm joined live via Skype by Jack Bobo, the CEO of Futurity. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, food insecurity is about the disruption or lack of reliable access to a sufficient quantity of affordable, nutritious food. So how has the coronavirus made this a so-called crisis within a crisis?
Yeah, for 50 years, we had actually been making great progress at reducing global hunger, and we had gotten to a point where about 690 million people were going to bed hungry before the virus hit. Now, obviously, that's unacceptable. Unfortunately, because of the virus, those numbers have increased by tens of millions of people that are going to bed hungry, and now we have as many as 135 million people who are suffering from extreme hunger, more than we had before.
Now, it's interesting because even before the coronavirus, lack of food wasn't the cause of global hunger. So what is it that's largely preventing the surplus of food being produced or wasted from getting into the hands of people who need it most?
Well, it's a demand-side problem, that if there was sufficient income for people, then there would be food available for them to buy. But in many parts of the world, people are living on less than $1.50 a day, and it's just not enough resources to be able to buy food on the market.
So then which parts of the world are seeing the biggest problems in terms of food insecurity?
Well, in terms of the coronavirus, we've got about 8 countries in the Middle East and, 8 countries in Latin America where hunger is on the rise. We've got 10 countries in the Middle East and Asia, but 36 countries in Africa are seeing extreme hunger crisis because of COVID. So that's really the hot spot for the problem.
So then, as you look around the world, which governments are doing the best job in dealing with this problem, and what is it that they're doing?
Well, when it comes to countries that are doing a better job in response to COVID, we have countries like New Zealand, Senegal in Africa has done a good job of keeping the virus down, Iceland. But when we think about the countries that are doing a better job in terms of hunger, it's really countries that are doing a better job in terms of the economic situation. Here in the United States, one of the things that has been done is that the U.S. Department of Agriculture has created a program, so basically every student in the school systems in the United States has access to a free meal every day. And that's had a really big impact on being able to reduce the impact of this crisis on children.
Now, as we know, that a lot of schools now have closed or are under lockdown, so a lot of people now schooling from home and don't have access to those meals anymore. I want to look at the role of the private sector. What are they doing to contribute to addressing food insecurity?
Right. Well, just on your last question, actually what they're doing is they're setting up checkup points so that people can actually go and pick up the food despite the fact that they're staying home. So those programs are actually reaching all of those children still. In terms of what the private sector is doing, there has been a huge shift. There aren't as many people going to restaurants, and so it took a while. It took a few months for the food system to be able to respond and make sure that food that had been going into those markets were now able to reach consumers. But a lot of companies have stepped up and have helped to cover the cost of transitioning that food from the large packages that might have been appropriate for restaurants to individually packaged so that consumers would be able to get that food. So in places like the United States and most countries in Europe, they've really been able to address the access to food, and you have companies that are now making food available and donating, and so we have record donations of food assistance as well from the private sector.
And I want to talk now about some of the consequences of food insecurity. So talk about some of the knock-on effects that people experience when food security becomes threatened or disrupted.
Yeah, so that's a tremendous problem, and so when hunger is common in a family, it's going to exacerbate other problems. So COVID is just one of those. So if people are not getting enough food to eat, then they're more susceptible to disease, whether it's COVID or HIV or other things. That there are situations where people are not going to be able to access health care because they may be less likely to go and get the care that they need. And so there are lots of ways that the access to hunger is also contributing to access or increases in other health conditions that people had. And all of this is really exacerbated by the fact that, people are not working as much, so they don't have the income, or they don't have access to get the food themselves. So there are two ways that hunger is created by this crisis.
And just very quickly, we did see that the World Food Programme received this year's Nobel Prize. Talk about the impact of their work and how this added attention might affect food security in the years to come.
Well, the World Food Programme normally reaches about 100 million people around the world every year, so it's the largest program in the world. The United States contributes almost half of the $6 billion that goes to it. So it's an important organization, and it's on the front lines of addressing hunger related to COVID. So hopefully this will bring awareness of the importance of this organization at just the right time, where they need massive increases in funding if they're going to deal with that additional 135 million people that are going into extreme hunger.
Jack Bobo, they're the CEO of Futurity. Thank you so much.